Stop making faces or you are out. The judge was having none of it today. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and it's time for another Daily Diddy, giving you daily trial updates from the P. Diddy trial every day until we get a verdict. So before I get to that little tit for tat going on in the courtroom, first off, the first person that testified today was Bryana Bongolan. Now she's back on the stand. She was then in the midst of cross-examination. She took some hits, not gonna lie, she took some hits. Now, first off, she testified on cross that she continued to do drugs and hang out with Cassie even after she said she was threatened by Diddy. The defense was like, so I guess you weren't scared? And she's like, yeah, I guess not. Bryana also said that some of the allegations made by the counsel she hired were wrong. So Bryana said that some of the allegations made by her attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, against Diddy were incorrect, including an allegation that Diddy grabbed her breast so hard that it left bruises. Also, they had filed a lawsuit on her behalf saying that Diddy sexually assaulted her. And she's like, yeah, that's not quite what happened. And so defense was like, well, was that the only way you're going to be able to get a lawsuit in by saying that he sexually assaulted you? And she's like, I don't know. So that was not exactly good. She also admitted to defense counsel that she shared a blunt with Diddy after the balcony incident, even though she said that she was trying to maintain some distance from him. She said that also she returned back to hang out at that same apartment with Cassie for a day of like smoking, drinking, cooking, and all of that. Again, if you're so traumatized, why did you go back to the scene of the crime? So there's that. That, of course, didn't really go well for her on that. Bryana also testified that she continued to hang around Combs because she wanted to be, she was trying to be cool with him. And then defense counsel came out with a receipt that appeared to show that Diddy was nowhere near the apartment when this supposedly happened, and that the receipt says that he was in Manhattan between September 24th and September 29th in 2016, and the incident occurred on September 26th. So basically, she was like, you were lying to this jury, you're a liar, blah. And Bryana's like, no, I can't agree with you on that, And so she says, listen, I have no doubt that Diddy dangled me over that balcony. I may not remember every single detail, but I have no doubt that this happened to me. I'm here to testify, to seek justice, and I will never forget him holding me on that balcony because I was terrified. So basically, defense was like, you're just trying to be a millionaire. But put a pin in that because there's a huge plot twist. So the judge got in Diddy's behind today because Diddy had been flashing facial expressions to the jurors, like he was trying to kind of bond with them and kind of making faces when different witnesses were testifying. So the judge was like, this is absolutely unacceptable. You do this again, your behind is out. You will not be sitting at counsel table for the rest of the trial. So defense counsel was like, no, he won't do it again. Sorry, judge. Yeah, never a good look. Now, the plot twist with regards to Bryana Bongolan's testimony, Enrique Santos, who is an investigative analyst for the U.S. Attorney's Office, was called. He's an expert at pulling data from cell phones and all that kind of stuff. So he pulled data from Cassie's cell phone, including deleted messages that said, wait for it, she texted Christina Coram, Diddy's chief of staff, to be like, what happened was crazy. So in Cassie's text to Christina Coram, the chief of staff, she said that Diddy dangled Bryana over a balcony, and she intimated that she didn't actually see it, but she believed obviously that it happened, and this was real time, the same time that this happened. She wrote, this is crazy, I have to stay away. So this, of course, bolsters Bryana's testimony that she was telling the truth because, again, you have a text message in real time showing that this incident happened. And on top of that, that brings the government closer to racketeering because, again, chief of staff working for the organization, trying to cover up stuff that Diddy had going on, knew what was going on. So there's that. Then next up was Jane. Now, Jane is testifying under a pseudonym, and she is somebody who dated Diddy. And so she talked about how she met him, and he was so sweet. They gave each other nicknames. So guess what the nicknames were? They nicknamed each other Bert and Ernie, like from Sesame Street. Weird. Anyway, so she met him. They were hanging out. He was giving her and her friends drugs. She remembered her first 5-day date with him back in 2021. She fell head over heels in love with him. He was giving her ecstasy on a regular basis. She had a bad ecstasy trip, but he decided after that she would have smaller doses every single day. He decided that. So on top of that, they were doing all kinds of other drugs. They were having sex all the time, like 12 to 24-hour long kind of marathons that included more baby oil, Lord Jesus. Anyway, it was consensual at that time, no issues. But then he was like, I want to watch you have sex with another man. And she was like, for real? So she did it thinking it was a one-off. She, agreed. But then after that, it opened Pandora's box, and then he wanted it all the time, and it's not how she wanted to get down. So moving forward, 90% of their sex life was now about freak-offs. And she was like, it just completely set the tone for our relationship going forward. I felt like it was a door I wanted shut. She felt she didn't have a choice because she was a single mom and he was paying her rent. And he made it clear that if she did not do freak-offs, he was going to stop paying her rent, kick her out, and she was going to have to figure out how to live and where to go. She felt obligated, obviously, because he was paying her rent. She said that the hotel nights where she would conduct freak-offs with Diddy and other men could last between 24 and 30 hours with no sleep. Sound familiar? She gave very graphic testimony about what he made her do, how he made her do it, all of that. And of course, 24 bottles of baby oil or more in every encounter. And these encounters happened in Turks and Caicos, Miami, LA, New York between May of 2021 and October of 2023. So her testimony, Jane's testimony, is starting to set the table for more of the sex trafficking because, again, if there's force or coercion or anything like that, and she's being moved from state to state, country to country to conduct these freak-offs that she didn't want to do, now you're in the realm of sex trafficking. Again, people keep thinking sex trafficking is like, oh, you've kidnapped somebody off the street and you're turning them out. That's one way, and that is sex trafficking, but that's not the only definition of sex trafficking. So there's that. So Jane is going to be back on the stand tomorrow to continue her direct examination. Not sure if they're going to get to cross. Depends, how much more heartbreaking testimony she's going to share. But again, the prosecution is really trying to bring it home in terms of all of the charges. And yeah, it's happening fast. Anyway, see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.